Hello, I'm going to be wearing the MF-11D for a little bit of the stream again. Just to confirm, it pressurizes much better now I've got a bald head. So as always, if you shave your hair, masks always seem to fit better. I guess because there's a lot less stuff getting in the way of the straps. Also, I have to do it up a lot tighter because there's a lot less bulk on my head. But there we go. So this was sent to me by Hype as a gift, and I've got something to send to him back. With the MD3 meter I'm going to send him. And that is, if I work out where I put the box for it, and now I can't see it, it is another Plessey PDRM82. I sent him some pictures of it, but annoyingly, it doesn't seem to work. It powers on, but the screen doesn't work. But, you know, it's a cool thing to send somebody anyway. Because it was on its original packaging and everything, so it looked like it had never been used. And of course, it didn't work either. There you go. Evening, everybody. So yeah, the nice thing about having a bald head is these masks fit you properly. Yesterday, Hayden. Or was it 2 days ago? I think 2 days ago, if I remember right. No, I've not tested this one with scopes yet, but it should be all right because it's quite a flush front. Problem is I don't have any scopes sort of handy to test it within this room. But in terms of, I think it should be pretty good because it's actually pretty flat at the front because of the shape of the panoramic lens. As you can see, that's quite flat. Oh no, the straps on this are really comfortable. Let me show you them. Basically, the straps on this mask are the standard Chinese 6-point head harness, but what makes these good is they've got a really good mesh skull head cap with them and proper elasticated straps. So, in theory, if you could get the harness that this mask uses separately, you could actually mount them to other Chinese masks and it would be a lot better because they use the same connection bit to go onto the mask. It's just the strap quality is way, way better on these. But yeah. Any new helmets? No, not really. The most recent helmet I got, I think, was that yellow Swiss Civil Defense helmet, which is a good helmet, but you know, it's not really a ballistic military style helmet. It's just a Swiss M18 shell made of aluminium, painted bright yellow for Swiss civil defense workers. But you know, it's a cool helmet, but sadly, a Bane mask won't work in reality. But I'd buy it if there was a gas mask built like the Bane mask. Yeah, it's not good if you had to use farb gel. I've done a video on the MC1 gas mask. I've done several videos on the MC1 gas mask, and it did work fine. Up to you, some CBR, and if you want to wear an M40, wear an M40. Each one was a separate price, weirdly, person with a really long name full of zeros and ones. Yeah, like that's what I thought you meant out in public. Yes, you can wear your M40 out in public because, you know, coronavirus is around, so you're meant to wear a mask around in public. The white helmet there is a German glow-in-the-dark fireman's helmet that uses the Stahlhelm shape, but it's actually aluminium, not steel. So basically, it's what the German fire service used after World War II for like 50 years. Right, people who are into really retarded conspiracy theories can fuck off. In what sense, Iron? With this helmet, or you're on about masks? I don't think this would do much to protect your ears from sounds with this helmet because it doesn't really cover the ears. I mean, it covers the ears with flaps, but it's not going to do much to impact sound going into your ears. In terms of full-size plate carriers, I don't have many. So the only really good plate carrier I've got is that Polish one, like the Polish military one. I've got a Mark for Osprey, but I don't actually have the proper plates it takes. In terms of like partial carriers, the ECBA I really like. The East German helmet really echoes if you're wearing that and you tap it. It's like a bell if you've got that helmet on. The thing is, Iron, this is the thing. If people are on, if I do a theme about conspiracy theories and we want to talk about interesting conspiracy theories, it's fine. It's when you're doing a random thing and then people saying Corona's all fake, it's made to control you sheeple, which is like, oh, fuck off. You know, especially if that's people that are going to endanger other people. You know, I've got no time for them really. What about NATO alphabet, your man? Alpha, beta. Fuck, I can't even think now. It's actually Bravo, isn't it? Bravo, isn't it? Not Beta. I'm thinking too much about radiation now. Alpha, Beta, Gamma. But yeah, Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, Foxtrot, Golf, Hotel, India, Juliet, Kilo, Lima. I'm probably going to forget letters now, but yeah. We had to learn that for one of my old jobs because you had to use the NATO alphabet if you ever reading out letters to people, you know, so they wouldn't mistake what you were saying. Referring to the helmet, there's no way of that helmet, as far as I'm aware, unfortunately, getting the straps tucked in. Yeah, I didn't mention it today, Henry, because at one point I thought I might have had to have done it at a different time. I'll announce what time I'm streaming tomorrow, but today was one of those ones where I kept thinking, might have to do it this time, might do it at that time. That's why I didn't announce it. Yeah, East German uniforms, Overwatch heroes, is sometimes actually used in films for World War II Nazi uniforms because they're very, very similar looking. You know, they're just kind of grey buttoned up uniforms. Although technically some of these German bits, I reckon, look better than the German World War II uniforms in terms of, you know, like placement of buttons and like design as well as, you know, functionality. The only reason I know Nick Valentine is at one point I think the idea was that you could get an overall shorter rifle that did everything, you know, so you could have the same barrel length but with a shorter rifle on design. The problem is that very few nations have made good bullpups. Bullpups have kind of got a legacy of being bad. Salad Fingers stream? Well, that's not a good thing, is it, Iron Drac, if there's nuclear subs going around your waters? I suppose they've got pretty long range on the missiles and subs anyway, but... well, person with what I assume is a Russian name that I won't be able to pronounce. There are certainly accounts that try and imitate me, so it wouldn't surprise me if there is a weapons and stuff 92 and a 94. It'd be good when YouTube gives me that, like, tick thing, so, you know, it's pretty obvious when somebody's making a fake account. I mean, a lot of them have just got names like weapons and stuff is gay. Right, I've already told people not to bring up fucking weird conspiracies, so the people still doing it, you know, that's your own fault. Yeah, basically there's like two types of protests here. There's the completely peaceful, like Black Lives Matter ones that, you know, I fully support the people's right to go out and protest in. Although at the moment, you know, of coronavirus, it's not a very good idea to go out in big mass gatherings. But yeah, some of them unfortunately have turned into vandalism, you know, pulling down statues, smashing stuff up because, you know, this might have had some historical context to do with slavery or some shit, you know. But I said I did a video, if you didn't see it on, I think it was Sunday, that went on last Sunday, that was about kind of some of my political thoughts on it. But the interesting thing was, which really made me laugh, as much as I don't want to get into politics, you had all these, like, you know, neo-Nazis, far-right people. And by the way, I don't shave my hair because, you know, like some stupid neo-Nazi shit. I just shave it because it's convenient with gas masks and, you know, easy enough to do. But anyway, the point was that you had all these, like, neo-Nazi, far-right, whatever you want to call them, you know, types, saying, you know, oh, how much we hate the blacks doing all this. We'd never do that, blah, blah, blah. You know, we're so much more civilized. And then they went out and caused even more fucking violence and, like, breaking shit and pissing on dead people's memorials. And I mean literally pissing on memorials. Than, you know, what you might have called the left-wing sort of Black Lives Matter style protest. So, you know. But, you know, that's just one of those things I find quite funny, you know, when one group claims to be better than another group and then they do the exact same shit. Yeah, I completely understand the point of a Second Amendment. No, Wendy's an American thing, isn't it? And I'm not American, so. Is it a fast food place? I don't know. They'd have to implement it very carefully if they did it, Nick, because unfortunately there would be people who have no understanding of firearms that if they were allowed to go out and buy a gun would just do it and do stupid stuff with them. So it's hard to say, really. I do support the idea of the Second Amendment, but if you're going to reintroduce it to a country that doesn't have something like it, I don't think it's going to necessarily go very well. My favourite helmet is the British one that's behind me with the night vision on. The night vision isn't part of the helmet, but it mounts on it completely fine. This is my favourite helmet in terms of it's just simply the highest protection rating helmet I have. This is the revision helmet, or, you know, like Cobra 2 or whatever they call it. But the reason this is such a good helmet is it's made from that sort of ballistic plastic stuff, thermoplastic. And if you've ever seen videos of people shooting helmets like this one, and the, I don't know, that strap seems way tighter than normal. Yeah, if you've ever seen videos of people shooting these helmets and like the ECH and whatever else, or ACH, whichever it is, they are really, really, you know, like good ballistically. Just going to say there's a lot of very weird comments on tonight, so if myself or some of the mods get ban happy, you've been warned. If there was a gas mask made out of paper, I mean, the filter couldn't be made out of paper, really, but if there was a mask made out of paper and it worked, then so be it. All right, Rajiv, nice to see you on. You can't do what, Keaton? Doesn't make sense. T-A-K-I. This is the Pulsar Challenger. I've done a video on it with a Rhino mount on that Hype sent me, but yeah, it works absolutely fine on this helmet. I mean, but that's what the point of this, one of the helmet's, you know, functions was. It has basically a night vision mount right in the center of it. No, I don't have a PO box, as you've already asked me several times, and I've said no. Favorite bayonet out of all the ones I've got, that's massive Swiss. I always say swish when I try and say Swiss and Sturmgewehr together. The Swiss Sturmgewehr bayonet. Do I have one handy here? If I do, I'll show it you right now. Yes, I do. I've bought one of these for Weapon Collector as a gift, but these bayonets, at least as in the fact that, you know, you can buy them quite cheaply and they're great bayonets. There's probably some other really cool sword bayonets like the old Enfield bayonets, but sadly they're really expensive. Right, Eindrak. Basically, the easiest way I can describe of night vision is you get things called different generations of night vision. So this is what would be called a Gen 1 Plus night vision unit. And I think, as far as I'm aware, generation refers to how efficient the light amplification is and what the resolution is. So basically, to be a Gen 1, it has to be, do a certain amount of light amplification, be a certain resolution. To be Gen 2, it has to be higher resolution and amplify light better. So it depends on generations, because sorry, I've just had another couple of fucking idiots had to get blocked, but right, so I'm going to go back to the night vision question and not get distracted by people spamming the chat. Mods, for anybody just saying stupid questions, I'll block them, because it's getting quite irritating when you want to answer people who are asking real questions, and then you've got people going, oh, but why do you shave your head? Because it doesn't affect the gas mask, when clearly it does. So I'll answer that in a second, Rashad, because that's a good question. But basically, with night vision, it comes down to, is it Gen 1, Gen 1 Plus, Gen 2? So Gen 1 Plus, for example, means it's better than Generation 1, but not technically good enough to be Gen 2. It depends, really. You'd have to find out first, for the price of it, what the generation is, because quite often you can see that the prices go up massively. So, for example, a Gen 2, if it cost like £2,000, but Gen 1 Plus was like £200, for that massive price increase, the difference is not good enough to, justify it. So from experience, I've used a couple of Gen 1 units, I've used a couple of Gen 1 Plus units, and I've used one Gen 2 unit that I was allowed to borrow to do a video with. The Gen 2 unit was definitely better, It's a bit cliche, I'll say it was a night and day difference, but Gen 1 Plus units are pretty damn good, although they're not all equal, obviously. But I'd say if it's a Gen 1 unit, don't pay very much for it, because while it's cool to piss about with a Gen 1 unit, they're not all that impressive. Basically, it sees better than the camera can see in the dark. It's only really slightly better than the human eye can see a Gen 1 scope or whatever. Gen 1 Plus is where it starts to get quite practical. If there's a bit of starlight or a bit of moonlight, it can see much better than the human eye can. With an IR illuminator, it can see really well. But then Gen 2s, and that's where it's really at, Gen 2 Plus, because that's where you start getting, you can go into a room where you can barely see. There's a tiny bit of natural light, and the night vision, you can make stuff out in really good detail. But for the person saying about why does hair affect the seal of a gas mask, because it goes on your face, not your scalp, most masks have straps and other bits that seal around your face. If you've got long hair, it is not going to make a good face seal. It really depends, Hardream. I need to answer that other question in a minute. It really depends how much light there is. So if you were out at night and it was a starry night with moonlight, you could navigate fine with a Gen 1 Plus with no IR illuminator. If you're out and it was pitch black and you had an IR illuminator, you could navigate fine, because it's basically just a torch that night vision can see, but human eyes can't see. When it comes to, like navigating, the thing is, all night vision does require light. If there's literally no light at all, the night vision still can't see. So for whoever it was that asked the question about invalid respirators, the only one I have like that is the Polish SR1 casualty mask. Again, it's one of those things I wouldn't mind getting them to do a video on, but it's seeing them for reasonable prices. But there are some very interesting designs, yeah. As in infrared illuminators, some CBRN or infrared night vision. But yeah, I think if somebody is generally unaware of why the less hair there is, the better a mask makes a seal. It's just quite obvious. It's because literally, the more hair, it's the same reason you can't have a beard with a gas mask. If you've got a proper beard, the mask won't make a chin seal. So it's the same reason that the shorter your hair is, the better the straps just tighten your face, because there's no hair getting in between the straps or in between, you know, your face and the thing. Right. The easy answer, Rajiv, is during World War II, the very first night vision came out. But World War II night vision is what we now call Generation Zero or Gen Zero. So basically, Gen Zero night vision doesn't illuminate anything, but it does see IR light. So what that means is that if you've got, say, a Gen Zero night vision, and you've got an IR torch or an IR floodlight, you can see it, but the other people can't if they don't have that night vision. Or it's like a very dull light compared to how you can see with Gen Zero. Gen 1 was, I think, around the 50s or 60s that was invented, and that was where it actually amplifies light. So what people think of real night vision is Gen 1, Gen 2, Gen 3 sort of stuff. Gen 0, as much as it is night vision, because you can see in the dark with it, you can't see without IR illumination. Right, I'll demonstrate night vision with an IR because I can do that for you in this room. So if I turn the light off here a minute, it won't look as good obviously through the webcam as it would normally, but if I take this off of this helmet, which is always very awkward to try and take off from a weird angle like that. There we go. I'll turn the ceiling lights off and then I can demonstrate this night vision without the IR and with the IR. Right, so what I'll do is we'll take off this cap, which is the protective cap to protect it from light, and then we'll turn on the night vision. Isn't that switch there? Yeah, right. So this is what night vision looks like without an IR illuminator on it. That's just it amplifying light. So you can hopefully see that is way brighter on the night vision than it is, you know, to the human eye. And that's without the IR illuminator. But obviously the webcam won't focus all that well with it. But the easiest way of making out the difference is you should hopefully see stuff in the background way better with the night vision than without it. Let me just put the camera up and to the side a bit, so there should be a bit less light coming from the screen. So if I do that there, if I can get it in frame. I mean, obviously, again, it's a focus thing because the webcam is never going to focus as well as the human eye does. Let me just see if I can focus it manually a bit better on the webcam. Right, how does that look? But anyway, so an IR illuminator, because this has an IR illuminator built in, I'll turn that on. There we go. Like the IR illuminator is on now, and that's it with the IR illuminator. It's basically a torch that only the night vision sees. Because if you see that, the webcam will see the IR illuminator a little bit. It's that bit there. The human eye can't see that. To me, it's just a dull red glow. I certainly can't see a beam coming off of it. But yeah, as I said, the webcam is never very good. You can never demonstrate night vision as well with cameras as you can with the human eye, because to the human eye, you pick up light much better. But if I look in this room with this on, I'll turn the illuminator off a second, which is, I always find switch slightly awkward to use on this model. Where is it? So it depends which eye you're using it with as well, and the position of the switch changes. There it is. Right. So without the IR illuminator, if I look through this, like that glows really, really bright, the Nixie tube torch, clock, sorry. And the room, I can see everything fine. I can definitely see it better for my eye. The main way of showing a difference, I'll see if this works on the camera actually, is if you look at that wardrobe there, there it is, you can't probably see inside the wardrobe as it is, right? Hopefully, with the night vision, let me just fold that back. You can see inside, look. So the coats in the wardrobe become visible, but without it, you can't. And that's without the IR illuminator on. If I put the IR illuminator on, 1 second. It's even clearer. So that's it now. And then with the IR illuminator, if I can get it to focus, which is, as said, easier said than done, because night vision is always a pain to get to work right on camera. There you go. You should be able to see that quite easily now. I mean, the camera doesn't want to focus, which is annoying, but you can see that pretty easily. At least the human eye you can. As I said, with night vision, the main issue is it's never as good on camera as it is to the human eye. I just want to get this refocused as well as it should be. Right, tell you what, let me just try that again. I've adjusted the front focal ring so it looks good for my eye. Right, there you go. That should look a lot better now. But the point is, looking through the webcam, through the night vision, you should see that pretty easily. Take it away. Look, you can't see anything, even if it boosts the brightness. That's where night vision comes in handy, because it is much better than the human eye. This is only a Gen 1 Plus unit, actually amplifying a tiny bit of light to make out details. And again, there we go. So yeah, if you wanted to walk around in the dark with night vision, if you've got an IR illuminator, even a Gen 0 unit would work in theory absolutely fine. But you know, it does depend on what you wanted to do with it, really. I'll put the lights back on now, obviously, so we can all see. Right, Weapon Collector Review School, I'm Rimmer. But yeah, hopefully that was an alright demonstration. But yeah, the point is with night vision, that the main thing night vision does compared to the human eye, especially Gen 1 Plus and Gen 2, that's where it gets really good, is where, you know, seeing stuff that your eye literally can't see because, you know, it can't make out details because it's too dark. DP60, is that a Geiger counter? Let's have a look. DP60 Geiger counter, or is it some sort of radiation detector? Which one's the DP60? I know what a DP66 is and a DP63. Let me open up eBay and see if I can find this one you're on about, because I do want to see which one you're on about when you say a DP60. Because depending on which model it is, depends on how much you should pay for it in working or damaged condition. Right, nothing is coming up when I search DP60, so I assume you mean DP63 or DP66, do you? But regardless, a DP66, as in a Polish old DP66, if it's easily repairable for £60, that's quite a good price. A Soviet sort of Russian DP63, you can get them in fully working condition for under £100. All right, cool. I'll see you then, Mike. What was in the DP28 machine gun? But yeah, when it comes to night vision as well, bear in mind you also get digital night vision. And for the most part, digital night vision is nowhere near as good as old analog night vision, you know, green night vision. Oh, DP75. If you can get it working, DP75s are amazing. The issue with DP75s are a lot of them seem to have faults that are quite hard to fix. I must have missed what your question was, I'm afraid, Overwatch. But yeah, green night vision is old analog. It uses a cathode tube, you know, like a cathode ray tube that was in the old CRT TVs. It basically uses one of those. That's how it sends images to the eye. Modern digital night vision, because it has to use like a phone type sensor, you know, or a digital camera sensor, they're nowhere near as good. I'm glad you enjoyed the videos, Doska. But yeah, so when it comes to night vision, you have to basically be aware of what you're buying, because night vision is certainly not created equal. The best person to talk to about night vision is Hype, because he is really into night vision. He's given me really good advice on night vision. You know, he talks about stuff in night vision that goes really over my head in terms of, you know, like how some models will amplify light and all the gain channels they use and all stuff like that. But the point is, if you want to get night vision, you really need to find out what type of night vision it is, because I would personally not pay for night vision without knowing, is it digital, is it Gen 1, is it Gen 1 Plus, you know. No, it's not exactly cold at this time of year. And I'm also not paranoid about getting like skin cancer from the sun from going outside for a bit. Sometimes I wear a cap, but that's more how hot is the day, you know. Yeah, I do now, Henry, yeah. Yeah, Doska, there's been a load of really weird people on today. I think it's just one of those days a load of trolls have come out where they keep saying, oh, you must shave your hair because you're a neo-Nazi, or that there's literally no point in shaving your hair. I did, Harris. I did. So today, I've had one already. I won't have a second one today. But I had one of these earlier when I had dinner. Belgian beer, bloody good stuff. No, Nick, in the UK, they banned knuckle dusters not very long ago. I think if they're really old historical ones, they're still legal as a collector's item, but most knuckle dusters are illegal now. And if you didn't know about like what happened with Weapon Collector, he had to destroy all his knuckle dusters because or brass knuckles, whatever you want to call them, because he had a really big collection of them, but just the law changed, and then they said, like, 99% of these are now illegal. You can buy stuff like that on eBay for anybody saying, where did you get like a beret, where did you get a gas mask, all that sort of stuff. As I've already said to some of the mods tonight, because there's so many weird people coming on, don't give anybody a warning now, just give them a straight up block if they make a stupid comment. But yeah, so there's the weird religious people coming on again, that's not surprising. There's the people who accuse you of being a Nazi because you've got short hair, which is always a very strange thing, because I'm pretty sure historically most of the Nazis actually had hair, didn't they? There's been some very strange people on tonight. All right, the person spamming the same question over and over and over again that I've already answered gets a block, because as I said, right. I'm sure a lot of the regulars know this, but if there's a day where a few people have annoyed me on the stream, you don't then ask a stupid question. No, Nick. In the UK, you're allowed swords. It's weird. Our laws, you're not allowed to walk out around with them in the street, but you are allowed them. For owning your house. Yeah, you can, Iron Drac, because Weapon Collector does a few things like that, making like basic wines or yeast, stuff with beers. I've never really tried it myself, but I know some people do really like doing that. Yeah, I think, Robert, you were just spamming emojis, aren't you? Which isn't, as far as I'm concerned. As much as spamming the chat isn't a good thing, it's not a very serious offence as far as YouTube crimes go. No, I'm sure you weren't, fan mate. A lot of people like it or just don't care. It's just the people that come on and start giving you, shit for it for no reason. My favourite gas mask, the Avon CT12. Although this is fast becoming one of my favourites. If I sort out a good blanking plug for this at some point, I've got a few ideas of what to try. I might like this a bit more than the CT12. That's a bit controversial to say, isn't it? But I really do like this mask. Right, Chris Collins now asks 2 stupid fucking questions on the stream, so he's blatantly a troll. Why don't you break the law if you don't agree with it? Because it's breaking the fucking law, isn't it? Yeah, well, that's exactly the thing, Harris. That's my ideology of a lot of people, their body, their choices, you know. If somebody wants to cut their hair or not cut their hair, it's no fucking, you know, thing to do with other people. And I don't know if some people are really just fucking stupid, but I think they are, right? If I went on a public platform like YouTube and said, I'm doing something that's illegal, you know, that's fucking evidence, right? The thing is, I don't. I follow laws. And there are people on here who have literally called the police on me because they're jealous of my channel. That should give you some idea of, you know, why you don't do stupid illegal shit online. But, you know, there is kind of a Darwin Award tier type thing, I think, of YouTube, seeing how dumb some people are. I suppose that's the problem with the internet, isn't it? Is that you see, as much as you can see the best in some people online, you do really see the dregs of humanity as well. Oh, what you on about, Beagle? I've got both a Martini Henry and a Piff helmet. Part of our country's history. Yeah, it's a Nixie tube thing. So yes, Artiana has a Nixie tube thing. This is another thing Hype sent me as a gift, but because apparently these are actually affordable in China, unlike over here. But if I just do the cable, so you know it's not. Yeah, it's a Nixie tube clock. So yeah, it's kind of, you know, like a vacuum tube that heats up to display numbers. They're cool things, aren't they? But, yeah, Fallout has Nixie tubes in it as well. I think Nixie tube isn't their technical name, is it? Because isn't Nixie like a brand name of one of the companies that makes the tubes? The real one's actually probably just called something like incandescent cathode vacuum tube or something. But yeah, Nixie tube is the name that caught on. But yeah, they're really cool old technology. Are they practical? No. You know, like a modern LCD display is a lot more practical, but they are cool, especially because you can power them off with little USB now. You know, they don't need much power going into them. You can test the seal of particle filters to a degree with incense, because incense is kind of like a particle smell thing. I like Mora's, Nick, because they're pretty common and cheap, you know, so if you break it and lose it, it's no real issue. These are quite good. I think this is a Ganzo, but, you know, just knives in this style, the ones where it's like a lock knife with a decent size. But it really depends on what you need a knife for. No, because it's a reproduction one iron, so I don't have any plates on it. It's got no insignias on it. It's just, you know, an interesting kind of reference for historical stuff. Oh, that's cool, Steve. So yeah, it's a shame it got stuck there for ages. eBay refunded me for a thing I've been waiting for like 2 months, just because it's been stuck doing nothing for 2 months in transit. So they said, look, we'll give you a refund for it. You know, it's now up to the seller to get compensation or whatever from the courier they chose to use. But it's generally not uranium, Beagle. It's generally radium on watches, because radium salts react with phosphors to create light, basically radioluminescence. And radium is incredibly bright, you know, when it's quite newly manufactured and the radium's not eaten into stuff. But that'd be good, Steve. The thing is, I don't want the seller to be, you know, fucked over by it. I hope that the seller, you know, just gets compensation back, but, you know, or they get the item back and they can resell it to somebody else. But, you know, because what I was hoping is I was just hoping the seller might be able to give me a bit more tracking info or say, look, I'll contact the courier. But then when I sent the request on eBay, eBay just literally said, look, we're going to refund you for it because, you know, you've been waiting for it for months. And if there's not been tracking in that time, it could very well be lost. But yeah, I've had some things from China that have been in postage for months and had no updates on them. But sadly, this is one of those things where if I didn't make a bit of noise about it soon, it was one of those things where I'd be out of a load of money, you know, if it didn't turn up, because I wouldn't be able to claim it back. Oh, didn't they say in the year 2000, Henry, there was going to be the millennium bug and all the computers would die, and that didn't happen? I'm all right, thank you, Penetrator. All right, we were on about this earlier, Ghosty. The issue is with gun restrictions is if you have a country, what we were saying earlier, where lots of people are not used to firearms, and then you suddenly let people have firearms, I don't know if it would go particularly well. You know, and that's coming from somebody who's quite pro-gun. It's just, I think a lot of the general public, if you just any day allowed them to go into a shop and like buy a pistol, you know, if you really eased it too much, I think that would end up being, you know, people shooting each other over road rage and, you know, clipping each other's bushes or something stupid like that, you know, rather than throwing a punch, they just shoot somebody. But yeah, I would support more lax gun laws in the UK, but they'd have to be thought about very carefully. I don't think suddenly saying all these things are legal, you can go out and buy them would actually go very well, in all honesty. You could tell them, Doska, but a lot of sellers just don't care. They'll go, oh, it's a replica, or, oh, no, they didn't contain asbestos. We already have a law like that, Ghosty. In the UK, any gun that isn't a 22 long rifle, in terms of being a rifle, so, you know, 308s, 223, anything like that, all of them have to be basically bolt action or have a gas system removed, so you have to charge it per shot. My favourite NBC suit at the moment is probably that Soviet OZK one, even though it smells horrible. Just because it's kind of like a cool, you know, trench coat style thing. Already said the Avon CT12 this stream. My opinion's not changed already in one stream. Well, I was earlier talking about that particular gas mask that's behind me, but we've talked about night vision for a load. We've talked about shaving your head. Should it be allowed or not allowed? Oh, and that person's back with another account, which blatantly means they are just a fucking idiot or a troll. But, you know, I think when you get to the stage of somebody coming back several times after being blocked, you know they were there to cause trouble in the first place. As in, like, Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead, yes, I do. And Hot Fuzz is my favourite in those. I've only seen the World's End, or whatever it is, once. Hot Fuzz and Shaun of the Dead I've seen loads of times, but I prefer Hot Fuzz just because it's got so many good supporting cast members in it, like Jim Broadbent's in it, Timothy Dalton's in it. You know, there's loads of really good supporting cast in Hot Fuzz. Yeah, well, basically all NBC gear, Robert, unfortunately, is very uncomfortable in warm weather. If you ever get a hot day, put an NBC suit on and feel, you know, be glad that you don't have to wear an NBC suit on a hot day. It is literally like wearing loads and loads of raincoats on a hot day because all your sweat gets trapped and it can't evaporate. I'm on my own stream, 11K, just so you can fuck off. There you go. I fucked you off for you. Yeah, I do really like Shaun of the Dead because a lot of people seem to take the attitude you can only really like one of the films. You know, like if you like Hot Fuzz, you can't like Shaun of the Dead. Well, I like both. I prefer Hot Fuzz, but I like both. You know, I'd happily watch both of those over loads of other films. Right, freaky mask on the right, the cap on. That is a Soviet MM1 tanker's mask, and it's the tanker's helmet with it. You know, that's like the ear protection and the everything else. It's funny we've got all of these guys coming on again on this stream, but you know, I guess it is really some sad fuckers with nothing better to do. I know you shouldn't feed the trolls, but I think deep down they know that's true, don't they? Most people want to come on here and have a good time, and then you've got some sad fucks that have to keep coming on to try and annoy people, and everybody just thinks they're an idiot. Right, it's actually the SHMS or SHUMS. It doesn't have the C in it. The C is the East German designation. It's my favourite Soviet mask, just because you can use it with scopes and binoculars. Probably British Grenadiers Beagle, even though that's a very, you know, bland answer, isn't it? But, you know, it's a great tune. But I've seen them, Arnold, but I've never bought them. personally, because I wouldn't really have any way of testing it. Yeah, the Soviets made most masks in either black or grey, you know, like the grey-white colour, like the GP5, or, you know, in basically just plain black. The majority of the masks they did in 2 colours. People still argue over the reasons for that. I don't think there was really a one reason for it. So, yeah, I suppose you could do a book fan made, but I don't think books are now such a big genre, are they? I mean, maybe more like ebooks, you know, where you could do a digital download for like £1, but for the most part, you know, the thing I like with YouTube is that although you make a bit of ad revenue from a video and somebody can donate if they want to, you're basically giving the information for free. So if somebody can't afford to pay you, they can still watch it for free. You know. Did you say you're like 13 or 14, Henry? Which means if you weren't even alive in 2000, right? Well, in 2000, I was like 7, but that's a weird thing to think about, isn't it? I'll check it out later, Henry. Yeah, it's linked in the description. But yeah, that's the thing I like with YouTube is that you can look up basically any subject. You know, like I know you can look up stuff like Let's Plays and whatever, but let's say you're into some sort of academic subject. You know, like you want to watch a video about electrician stuff or, you know, plumbing or whatever, or some history type things. Well, you have to be careful that the channel you're watching doesn't give you really dangerous advice. You know, like poke your fingers in an electrical outlet. That's a good way of testing if it's on. You know, somebody's saying something like that. You can learn a hell of a lot through YouTube for spending no money. And it's really handy if you want to do something and you need a tutorial for it. Like today I had to put up a pulley system because the wire was frayed on our old one for like a clothes rack. So I had to put up a new one. Found a YouTube video where a guy explained how to do it perfectly in like 2 minutes. And then I could do it, you know. Yeah, that's weird to me, Henry, people being that young. I know obviously it's possible, but, you know, it's just weird to me that, you know, I think, you know, because I'm a 90s kid, that you have people, yeah, literally born after the year 2000 just seems odd to me. Yeah, I would not recommend that, Herazumu. I mean, there's a very good Electro Boom video where he does lots of stuff like that. I like it where he puts the LED in the microwave to see if the LED turns on. The LED does turn on, but at the same time, it also, the metal bits on the LED, you know, start sparking, start a fire. It really depends on what the equipment is, Rashad. But a lot of Soviet equipment is very well made. It's made to be like idiot-proof, like a lot of the old British Army stuff was. That's not made in that way anymore. You know, so it's like quite clunky. It's heavy, but it works really well in terms of, you know, you'll struggle to break it. The Soviets also made really, really good Geiger counters. And that's one of the weird things of the Soviet Union. They made probably the best Geiger counters in the world up until the 1980s. Yeah, I don't blame you, Trevor, because obviously there are people older than me that come on a lot of these videos. But you know what I mean? It's just weird to me when you get people that are really, really young in comparison to you. It really depends on the mask. Some masks, if you have a lot of hair, you won't be able to get a good seal with at all. Other masks are fine. Since I shaved my hair, this goes on really, really well, and it makes a really good seal. Before I shaved my hair, it was quite hard to get a good seal with this mask. But yeah, in general, the less hair you have on your head, the better a mask's going to seal to your face. Yeah, the thing is, Iron, you don't want somebody to actually do that and electrocute themselves, but yeah, it is kind of a Darwin Award sort of thing, isn't it? I'm pretty sure at a very young age I was taught about a lot of the dangers of mains electricity, you know, which I now disregard because, oh, it's fun, you know, connecting crop clips to things and doing stuff, but, you know. Probably Overwatch Heroes, it's a similar sort of thing. With a trim beard, some masks would certainly work. Let me have a think. I think a Polish SR1 would work fine, but you probably want something a bit more modern than that. Oh yeah, I can imagine, Trevor. I'd say you've got red on you, Edward, but that's quite an obvious one, isn't it? I mean, with Hot Fuzz, it's probably no luck catching them killers there. No, it's just the one killer, actually. I don't know why, but that's always my favourite line. Oh, thank you, Mike. Yeah, Weapon Collector's given you a good answer there. The Spassiani, according to Mike, who has a bit of a goatee, works fine with his beard. I think that's just because it seals quite deeply onto the chin, doesn't it? Again, your mileage might vary, but, you know, Spassiani's are brilliant masks in terms of shame. Yeah. You know, Spassiani's are brilliant masks in terms of, you know, comfort and, like, panoramic design and everything. If it's in working condition and you've got it, it's fine. The problem is with masks that age, the probability that something's going to fail on them is pretty high. It depends how conductive it is, though, because the thing is, mains voltage isn't necessarily going to kill you, but it's not a sensible thing to mess about with. That's a good point, Harris. Yeah, the thing is with a lot of this stuff is the thing that I think a lot of people need to bear in mind is it's a combination of volts and amps, isn't it, that makes something dangerous, and how the electrocution goes across you. Because, for example, with a lot of the Geiger counters I have, they step up the voltage really high for the Geiger Muller tubes, and I've been electrocuted from Geiger counters loads of times from messing about with them. But a Geiger counter, if it gives you a shock, it will really jolt you, but it's not that dangerous because it's such a low kind of ampage volt, you know, ampage current in them. It's just very high voltage, but very, very low amps. So, you know, you get thrown back from it almost, you know, your arm does that, but otherwise it's more of just the shock, you know, it's like a jump scare. Oh, Timothy Dalton, you mean, Iron Drac? He's the best Bond, in my opinion. He's in Flash Gordon as well as Prince Boron, is it? Or Prince Baron, something like that his name is. No, I know. Oh, it's the same person coming back on. Anyway, I will answer that. And although it was a troll asking the question, is a Van de Graaff generator makes your hair stick up if you had hair. If you're bald, it doesn't. A lot of it, though, is if you grip something and then you can't let it go, isn't it? Because that's the real danger. Because a very short shock is a lot less dangerous, other than if it stops your heart, than if you get stuck on an electrical line. Well, basically, Harris, anything that has electrical current going through it, if something goes wrong, can shock you. With a Geiger counter, it's generally if the most likely way it will happen is if you're holding the probe on it and the wire comes loose in the probe, and then therefore the probe itself, rather than, you know, a current running through the probe, is in up into the probe and then down into the meter again, if it goes from the probe housing into you. But most of the time you'll then just go, you know, and drop it. Even with the voltage on a Geiger counter, I've never had my hand stuck on it before. Oh, saying that one did. The Polish DPS 68, the wire that came with the probe on that was a bit shit. And yeah, I got shocked by the probe and couldn't let it go. So I had to, you know, slap it off with my other hand. Oh, it's about the tank, isn't it? The Beast. I've never seen that properly, although I've seen some scenes from it. I'd definitely watch that if I could find a good copy of it. But any idea what model it was, Overwatch? But if it was a proper Geiger counter for 50 Australian dollars, that's dirt cheap. That's like 25 US dollars, isn't it? How old's your rat, Trevor? I used to have some pet rats. Rats can be really good animal companions, can't they? Like little dogs. I know a lot of people would think that's weird, but you know, rats are really intelligent rodents. If you've ever had, you know, pet ones, lots of people train them to do tricks. But mine just loved affection. You know, they wanted to sit on your shoulder and have a cuddle. The only problem with rats is, of course, that they tend to die of cancer like when they're like 1 to 2 years old. Just because they have such a fast metabolism, which, you know, it's a real shame. I think that's why the main reason I wouldn't want rats again, because you get very attached to them because they're very intelligent animals. They just don't live very long, but they are really social. The thing is, like, I loved with my rats is when you'd come home and you'd see them get excited because they know you've come home and you're going to, like, you know, get them out and give them a cuddle. But yeah, rats are really intelligent animals. It really does annoy me. Lots of people think they're like these dirty, horrible animals because they're really not. Rats are very smart. It really depends, Nick. Lots of milksop really varies in quality. I've got stuff in my collection that's shit and brilliant, you know. That one, it's a Russian electrocution sign that's had another bit of wording put on it as a joke by the seller. It says death to Western spies on the actual text, but originally it would have said, you know, like danger, high voltage. It would have been on like a substation or something. Oliver says only 20 to 40 milliamps can stop you breathing. 1 MA is just perceptible. Yeah, the thing is with voltage, it really depends, doesn't it? How long it touches you, how it goes through your body, how conductive you are. There's lots of different things with voltage and amps and everything, but in general, you want to avoid getting electrocuted, I would say, is the best advice. Because again, it's if you're not electrocuted, there's no chance of you dying from electrocution, is there? Or is electrocution one of those weird things where you're meant to call it a shock because if you've been electrocuted, it's killed you, as in executed? I assume that's another troll because he's asking about his own username. Right, so I'm getting rid of the person as well that's spamming the chat and then blaming the mods for timing them out. I think most people know if a mod times you out, when you come back, you just don't talk about it, or you say sorry. You don't say, oh, why did you time me out? But yeah, so electrocution is death. I always want to say electrocuted, though, even when it's not fatal. But yeah, basically, for the people who didn't know what I mean with Geiger counters, obviously a Geiger counter has the probe on it, right? The probe on the Geiger counter contains, in general, how most Geiger counters work. The probe is the bit that contains all the electrical, you know, the bits that actually detect radiation. So, I'm not going to electrocute myself on purpose with this, or electric shock myself. But basically, how these work is you've got obviously the probe that detects radiation and all that. So this one has 2 tubes. It's got the SBM20, which is the main tube, and it's got the SI3BG, which is the like really high radiation detector. So the danger is obviously if something goes wrong in there and the electric current goes from it to the housing into your hand, then that's a problem. Anyway, I'll turn this one on. You might be wondering why, because I'm holding it like this. So I'm going to show you in a minute, because there's something really cool with these old Soviet ones. Surviving the Apocalypse has shown this in a video, but it's running at the right thing. Basically, the little vacuum tubes on the back flash on these every single time it detects a bit of radiation. It's probably not going to be very easy to show on webcam, but these vacuum tubes flash when exposed to radiation, which is really cool. You should be able to just about see the glow in one of them there. But basically, every time the Geiger counter clicks, when it counts, that will flash. This won't give me a fatal shock. I've shot myself on Geigers loads of times. I've even shot myself on the ones running at like 1,100 volts for like some of the really strong detectors. So let me get some Automite and I can demonstrate it. So it's picking up from there, look. So yeah, look at that. So I'll hold this here, then I'll get that here. See that? I'll turn the light off so you can see it easy. It is really cool. Surviving the Apocalypse has done a really good video on these, but some of the things I love about those old Soviet counters is just how well they... So yeah, there you go. You should be able to see it quite easily now. Yeah, it's just the old vacuum tubes on these where you can see them light up when there's radiation going into the counter. But yeah, we'll turn that off now. And an important thing with Geiger counters, which I'm sure a lot of you are aware of, other electrical things as well, is when you turn it off, there's still some electrical charge stored in capacitors. So don't you know, don't immediately touch something because you flick the switch off. It's not exactly safe because you've done that. But yeah, so Soviet SBM20s, not SBM20s, that's the name of the tube. Soviet DP5 series Geiger counters are amazing. They are literally one of the best surplus Geigers you can get. They make the very iconic ticking noise as well. But yeah, I know I've talked about these before, but you know, my advice is if you want to get a good old military Geiger counter and you want it to still probably work, I would definitely recommend old DP5 series. This is the A, which is the oldest model, and it still works perfectly. I had to do a little bit of work, I think, on some of the bits in it to get it working, but it was like very, very minor stuff. You can use these with the big wands as well. Although saying that, because this is the oldest model of it, I don't know if they designed it to work with the wand. I don't know if I've got my wand handy for it, actually. But yeah, basically the... no, it's not handy, that's a shame. But yeah, the old wands of these, the idea was that you have like a big telescopic wand that you connect to it there, so you can hold it away from you. So, you know, you don't have to be right next to something that's radioactive, which is actually a really good idea, you know. But the Americans never came up with that, neither did us in Britain. You know, we always thought, oh, you have to have it, like, you hold it like that. Well, the Soviets figured out you could actually put a telescopic wand on it and then hold it, you know, back like a metal detector. Right, these Bagel Thief, it depends on where you get them from and, like, what kit you get them with. If you were to buy the most common one, which is probably the best for most people, the DP5V it's called, well, it will look like DP5B because of the Cyrillic writing on it. It's the green one. If you buy them without any of the accessories, in working condition, if they're a bit beaten up, maybe 30 to 50 pounds. If you're buying them with like the complete briefcase kit and all the accessories, they're normally slightly above 100, especially because the shipping gets expensive. But they are lovely counters. You know, they've got the backlit display as well if you want to flick that on. They've got a really good UV display on these. So basically, I turn that off again. As you can see, that glows green in the dark as well. It's not radium either, so it's perfectly safe. It's just photo, you know, luminescent materials. But, you know, but you've got the bulbs in there as well if you want them. Only problem with these, they use a type of battery that's not very common anymore. But you can either modify them to take AA batteries. If you buy the complete kit, you can run them off of car batteries or bench transformers easily. But yeah. Soviet DP5s, and this is why I always find it funny when, you know, you get the people who are like, oh, the Russians never could, you know, they were dumb, they could never make good stuff. This is literally better than anything America and Britain made during the Cold War to detect radiation. So yeah, basically, Soviet DP5 meters. One thing I want to point out with this, actually, before I put this all away and finish the stream, is let me unplug the headphones from it. So headphones, you know, can be unplugged. That's the bit that makes the clicking noise, won't click without the headphones. If I undo the leather tabs that keep it in there, and bear in mind DP5Vs are even smaller than this model. Just get that out because obviously it holds it in quite well. So anybody saying what was the Chernobyl Geiger counters, it was these. Not the ones that only maxed out at 3 Rontgen though, these max out at 200 Rontgen. But the actual counter itself is pretty compact actually. If I get him out, they have really good sealing bags in here. The bag's designed so all of it obviously fits in. So that's just the size of it. So think about the size. I don't have one handy to get out, but I have got a CDV 720 there. So we'll assume that the CDV 720 isn't too dissimilar in size to the CDV, 700 US Geiger counter. See that? Size-wise, other than the wand, very similar size to CDV 700s. I know this is a 720 because it's the ion chamber one for deadly radiation levels. But with the US Geigers, for example, and same with Britain, we basically made counters that did background levels of radiation and counters that did really, really high levels of radiation. This counter does all of them in 1 meter. I'll do another video on the DP5A because I've not done one on this particular meter yet, although I've done one on the V and the B. So if you look at the scale, you've basically got on the top scale 0 to 5 Röntgen or millirontgen. So basically on 0.1, that's 0 to 0.5 millirontgen. On 1, it's 0 to 5 millirontgen. On 10, 0 to 50 millirontgen. On 100, 0 to 500 millirontgen, as in half a Röntgen. On 1,000, it's 0 to 5 Röntgen. And then on the bit that says 200, you use the bottom scale. And then that goes from 0, if it wants to focus. I'll put the light on, it might help it focus a bit better. Where is it? There. It does 0, 5, 10, 20, 30, 50, 100, and 200 Röntgen. So these were really good counters in terms of, like the range of what they worked on. Where's the, the light doesn't seem to be working on it now. Might be the batteries come loose, but never mind. But yeah, these are really good counters, especially for the size. And as said, they make the classic ticking noise. So you just plug the headphones in or a piezoelectric speaker if you don't get the old Soviet ones of it. I'll just put that near the thing. Obviously, you get the old whine of the old oscillators in there, but if I get the samples back over, you can probably... Yeah, shit. That was handy, just drop this on the floor. You can probably hear. Really, really good classic Geiger counter piezo clicking on these as well. So yeah, if you're not familiar with these, I would definitely say Soviet DP5 series are like the way to go when it comes to surplus Geigers. And yeah, these are the ones that are in all the Chernobyl TV series when you see people wandering around with Geiger counters, just because they're, so iconic and were so widely available in the Soviet Union and better than what we made in the West. As I said, there's loads of British and American and Canadian, counters I like, but the Soviets had us beat when it was one unit that did literally everything. There's not many actual bulletproof helmets because I'd say bullet-resistant helmets, because most helmets eventually, something will hit them, will go through, or your neck won't survive the impact. But the only helmet I've got that's really, really bulletproof in a sense is that one, the Virtus helmet, or whatever it's called. The Americans have the ACH. There's some Kevlar helmets which are okay against pistol rounds and nothing more than that. If I could get a horse gas mask for a cheap price, I might. But the problem is they're very bulky. But yeah, so there you go. Soviet DP5. This is the A, the oldest model of it. DP5Vs are a bit smaller, lighter, more easy to use. Well, really, they're the same thing. You just don't have to adjust the voltage for them. Because with this one, when you turn it on, yeah, the batteries have come loose. That's the problem. All right, there we go. Yeah, you have to adjust the voltage. You don't have to do that on the V. It does it automatically. But yeah. So yeah, these are the old Soviet counters. I'll do a proper video on this one because this is the oldest of the Soviet DP5 series, but bloody good for what they were. The Russians really were good at vacuum tube tech. Anybody that says they're not ignorant. Avon by a fucking mile. To that question. Scott have made some good masks, so I don't hate everything Scott's made, but Avon is like the, in my opinion, best gas mask manufacturer ever in terms of just how many good masks they've made over the years. But yeah, anyway, I'll go off now. Thanks everybody that wasn't a troll, because we've had a load of weird people on, and one of them's just come back on now. By the way, mods, anybody that's called I Am Nerdish, block them, because that's the same person that's been coming back with several accounts. So it's not a real person, obviously. But yeah, other than a load of trolls on tonight, which we were laughing and think more at them than with them, weren't we? Yeah, stay safe, everybody. It's been a good stream. It's been quite an enjoyable one. The Iraqi Darth Vader, do you mean helmet, Iron Drax? Sadly, that's very, very poor quality steel, isn't it? The Fire Dean helmet or whatever it's called. But it's cool. I'd like one, but sadly, I've never seen one for sale. But yeah, see you, Beagle. Take care in Brazil. Take care all around the world where everybody is, you know, and stay safe.